The little boy was watching her. Basket of wildflowers hooked on her arm, Jill Whelan froze as the child's presence registered in her peripheral vision. Who knew how long her young visitor had been crouched in the shadows of the large boulders that separated her sunny meadow from the dark woods beyond? If he hadn't shifted position to keep her in sight as she wandered among the flowers, it was doubtful she'd have noticed him. And the tense lines of his body suggested he was poised to flee at the slightest hint of detection. Instead of making eye contact, she resumed gathering flowers, salvaging as many of the profuse July blooms as her large basket would hold, before the angry clouds sweeping across the sea-battered Orcas Island with a flattening torrent of rain and wind. As she bent, reached, and clipped, the solemn-eyed, brown-haired little boy continued to stare at her. No surprise there. That's what people did. They gawked and kept their distance. Yet every instinct in her body said this child wanted to communicate with her. Maybe those instincts were rusty after 2 years of self-imposed isolation on this outcrop of rock in the San Juan Islands off the coast of Washington state, but she knew all about the longing to connect with other people, and the loneliness emanating from the boy was almost tangible. It was also impossible to ignore. Continuing to pluck flowers, she eased closer as she assessed him out of the corner of her eye. A grimy, oversized t-shirt hung on his thin frame. Streaks of dirt smudged his face. His unkempt hair didn't look as if it had seen a comb in weeks. It was hard to estimate age, but he couldn't be more than 6 or 7 max. And what was he doing on the adjacent property, which abutted Moran State Park on this less populated eastern wing of butterfly-shaped Orcas Island? There'd never been any signs of habitation there, other than the occasional black-tailed doe that wandered onto her property to see if she'd replaced any of her deer-resistant plants with flora more suited to their tastes, or the raccoons that came to forage in her trash bin. If an old hermit lived there, as the clerk at the tiny grocery store a few miles down the road had mentioned once, he'd earned that label. Not once during the years she'd lived here had he shown his face. And who was the little boy? Could he be lost? Hungry? Injured? Did he need help?